Welcome back to another segment of the Business Wisdom of Ruth. And today's principle is do what you heard. And this is going to be found in the book of Ruth, 3rd chapter, verses 6 through 9. Now, before we jump into the text, I want to take just a few moments to talk about the word heard, because this is going to be vital to our understanding of the principle. Now, as believers, we have a unique opportunity to be able to hear from God at any point in time that we have questions or feel the need for direction through prayer. Yes, through prayer. Now, we've been brought up to believe prayer is the time where we give our to-do list to God about the things that we want in our life and we walk away. However, the objective of prayer really should be to commune with God, to hear what He has to say. In fact, the book of Psalms says, "Roll your works upon the Lord, and He will cause your plans to be established and succeed." So we must take time in prayer. Another way that we as believers can hear is that God will position someone to speak to us about the situation, about the question that we have, and help us to gain the direction in which to go. And this was the case with Ruth. Naomi was Ruth's appointed vessel at this time in her life to give her the guidance that she needed to move to the next level. Now that we have an understanding of the importance of hearing, let's take a look at the text and see how Ruth executed the things that Naomi gave for her to do. Now, the text records, starting at verse 6, that Ruth did everything that Naomi said. She got herself prepared. She went down to the threshing floor. She waited until after Boaz had done all of his duties and laid down for the night to rest. One of the commentaries record that she was so diligent in following instructions that she didn't lay on his side. She didn't alter the instructions to lay across him or on top of him. She did exactly what Naomi told her to do, which was simply to uncover his feet and lay across his feet until he awakens. And that is exactly what she did. But for this principle, here is the most important thing that Ruth did. Ruth did what she heard. Now, this becomes a stumbling block for many of us. It's not so much that we don't hear or we're not clear, because we've learned now that through prayer we can get clear instructions and directions. But sometimes it's the fact that we simply don't take action. I mean, consider, how many plans do you have stacked up in your closet or on your desk or on your iPad of things that you intend to do, but have never put action to it? And because this has become a stumbling block for many of us, I wanted to take this opportunity to reflect on this portion of my personal journey. What were some of the reasons that caused me not to do what I heard? And I came up with 3: time, money, and encouragement. Now, definitely not in that order, but I'm sure many of you who are listening today can concur that lack of time, lack of money, and lack of encouragement may have been the stumbling blocks that prevented you from doing what you heard. So let's talk about how we move past these things and begin with lack of time. Now, most people who are getting ready to start their business, are entrepreneurs or solopreneurs, don't have the luxury of having their business funded where they can work on their business full-time all every day. There, holla at me. Most of us are doing double duty. In other words, we're trying to get our business off the ground and we're working full time to take care of ourselves or of our families. And many of us find it very hard to find the time in the day to be able to focus on our business. However, because we've heard this, we know this is God's destiny for our life, we have to make this a priority. So here's a tip. Make sure you do something towards your business, towards your project, or perhaps that new program every single day. Now imagine if you just took 1 hour out of the day, every day, that would be 7 hours a week. 7 hours a week is 28 hours a month. And before you know it, you'll begin to see the fruits of your labor just by setting aside 1 hour every single day to work on that priority, because you know this is what you heard from God. Okay, we've taken care of time. Let's move to the next one. Lack of money. I could probably spend the whole segment talking about lack of money. But just as God said to Moses, "What do you have in your hand?" I am asking you, what is it that you have in your hand? And don't be afraid to start where you are. Think about all of the wonderful restaurants that started in somebody's kitchen, or perhaps witty inventions that started in somebody's garage. We cannot wait until we get all the money to do everything that God has put in our hearts to do. We've got to start where we are. So we have a tip to overcome lack of time. We have a tip to overcome lack of money. Now let's talk about the last one, lack of encouragement. And I know firsthand, this is a tough one to overcome. However, David said, "I have learned to encourage myself in the Lord." So even when we don't get the likes we want on Facebook, the views on YouTube, or the followers on Instagram, we have to know that this journey and why we are doing what we are doing is because this is what we heard, and we're doing what we heard. Regardless of who claps for us, who pats us on the back, we know by faith, because we've communed with God, that this is our purpose for our life. So we've got to walk this out. And I want to encourage you today, do what you have heard. So why is today's lesson so important? I think the book of James sums it up well. Faith without works is dead. You see, God has given us all the skills, tools, and resources that we need to be successful in both our personal and our business life. But we've got to make a decision that we do not let the lack of time, money, or encouragement detour us from where we know God has planned for us to go. So like Ruth, I hope that you will do what you have heard. As always, thank you for joining us, and I look forward to seeing you again next week.